inside your rainbow. Reaching for the best of time, fearing that the scene has changed. Things that once were right, they took you on a ride once again. Blistered by the burning rain, until the one is seen again. It's always hard to face the pain, and now you run to what you always do. Slipping through the slacking rain, the chances come to start anew. Don't look now, just turn the page. There's better things out there for me and you. But I still remember that long, long summer day. I still remember when you went away. Wasting any time, a song fades away. Feel like the first time I quiver to say I guess over time, hanging around. It's hard to get up. I feel so
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, thank you!
From the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering, when the few who remain will battle to the last. No one has ever known we were among you, until now.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter. Baby's got corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Greetings and salutations from the mothership with Count Funkula and I don't know. I wish I would have been a musician for one thing. And if I would have been a musician, I would have been a funk artist. I would have probably learned to play bass. I think bass is a little more my speed, but at the same time, chicks dig bass players, right? Little beep, 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 you know what I mean? Can't have all treble. It's all about that bass, Some treble, a little treble. A little treble is no trouble. Happy, whatever the day is, the 8th. What are we, is it Christmas yet? I hope you had a good weekend. I hope your holiday weekend, if it was a holiday weekend for you. Some people work on 4th of July to get that time and a half. Sometimes it's double time depending on where you work. If you're working that retail, making that cash, I'd be like, fuck some fireworks. I want to make some cash, on 4th of July. Never was a big fan of I liked 4th of July when I was a kid, pop, 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 pop. But now, if you live in a city, the fireworks are just like too much. It's just the neighborhood fireworks, people setting off Roman candles in the neighborhoods, and it's just too fucking loud for quiet communities like that. I know. Back in my day, we didn't have Earth. We just floated around. We liked it fine. But I mean, like sensible fireworks, all right? Like from far away, some place where it's not disturbing people, That shit, animals don't like that shit. There's a lot of, veterans and people of, gunshot victims and stuff. They all have the PTSD. They don't like that shit. So, hopefully, if you didn't have to endure that, if that was the case. But otherwise, hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you got out and did some barbecuing. The weather actually was somewhat cooperative. I think on the 4th, it actually rained in the morning. But other than that, it wasn't that bad. So it was muggy, and now it's nice, and that's all I can say and feel glad about. It was fun. So before we get started, before I shout out everybody, I forgot to do this on Friday, and I missed out on a buttload of cash. So, me, I love money. I want to swim in it. I want to be like, Aquaman, only instead of money, I want it to be hundreds that I'm swimming in. So let's go ahead and get some money from our sponsors here, the old Desperation Blend Coffee. Folks, I've tried shitty coffee before, and it all tasted like this. Left for dead on a barren rogue planet in the Gamma Quadrant, this hardy little fighter refused to die. Instead, out of sheer spite, it took root in the poisonous soil and flourished as a bitter, nasty reminder of your feeble existence. That's right. Don't get it confused for the burnt ashes of your dead relatives. It tastes much, much worse. Have you always wanted to waste your money on worthless products? Did the kick you in the crotch machine you bought to punish yourself stop working? Well, then grab a bag of Desperation Blend Coffee. Desperation Blend Coffee, dark roast, the ground roast coffee, found online and in a dumpster behind a Del Taco near you. That's right. And probably where all kinds of diseases are as well. Zoop, little zoopy over there. All right. Got our fake sponsor out of the way. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. Yeah, no, I forgot. I got to change that. I meant that for just Friday only, but I don't know. I might keep it in there. The devil was starting to scare people. He's still around, but you know, I wish there was only one of that movie, because the movies after that were just, ooh, no good. John, good to see you. Didn't see FES. Oh, I'm sorry, man. It's okay. Somebody will hit it for you. Steve Wolfbrandt in the house too. So, yeah. So 4th of July weekend. Oh, Willie's here too. Hello, Willie. Sneaking Sally through the alley. What's up, Willie? Good to see you, brother, man. Hope your 4th was good. Willie, did you have the 4th off? Were you able to partake, or let me know? Let me know in the chitty chat. Yeah. All right. Where are we? What's going on? Okay. Yeah. So, if you watch a secret show, and if you don't, why aren't you? You should be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know. Some people can't stay up that late, but watch the replay or whatever. We were talking about these Texas floods that were happening down in South Central Texas, I believe. You worked this past weekend. See, I tell you, man, that holiday pay that's delicious. That's the shit right there. So yeah, and it flash flooding and killed a lot of people, and the death toll is rising as death toll over 100 in the July 4th weekend floodings down there. And that video, I don't know if you've probably seen some of the video. It's just way crazy. It's just like water all over the place and people clinging to trees, houses floating down. Oh my God. This out of Kerrville, Texas. The death toll from catastrophic flooding in Texas over the July 4th weekend surpassed 100 on Monday as search and rescue teams continue to wade into swollen rivers using heavy equipment to untangle trees as part of the massive search for missing people. Authorities overseeing the search for flood victims said they will wait to address questions about weather warnings and why some summer camps did not evacuate ahead of the flooding that killed at least 104 people, and with more rain coming too, I believe. The official spoke only hours after the operators at Camp Mystic, a century-old all-girls Christian summer camp in the Texas Hill Country, announced that they lost 27 campers and counselors to the floodwaters. Kerr County officials said Monday 10 campers and 1 counselor have still not been found. Searchers have found the bodies of 84 people, including 28 children, in the county home to Camp Mystic and several other summer camps, officials said. With additional rain on the way, more flooding still threatens saturated parts of central Texas. Authorities said the death toll was sure to rise. Yeah, as they find the bodies, I'm sure. This is some of the workers out there. I mean, seriously, this was just insane amount of water at one time. The raging floods, among the nation's worst in decades, slammed into camps and homes along the edge of the Guadalupe River before daybreak Friday, pulling sleeping people out of their cabins, tents, and trailers, and dragging them for miles past floating tree trunks and cars. Some survivors were found clinging to trees, as we told you. Piles of twisted trees sprinkled with mattresses, refrigerators, and coolers littered the riverbanks Monday. The debris included reminders of what drew so many to the campgrounds and cabins in the hill country, a volleyball, canoes, and a family portrait. 19 deaths were reported in Travis, Burnett, Kendall, Tom Green, and Williamson counties, according to local officials. Among those confirmed dead were 8-year-old sisters from Dallas who were at Camp Mystic and a former soccer coach and his wife who were staying at a riverfront home. Their daughters were still missing. That's the thing about I'm deadly afraid of like flooding, just being out in open water, anything like that where there's a massive amount of water involved, a massive amount of uncontrolled water. Let's put it that way. It's pretty fucking scary. Authorities vowed that one of the next steps would be investigating whether enough warnings were issued and why some camps did not evacuate or move to higher ground in a place long vulnerable to flooding that some local residents refer to as Flash Flood Alley. That will include a review of how weather warnings were sent out and received. One of the challenges is that many camps and cabins are in places with poor cell phone service, Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice said. We definitely want to dive in and look at all those things, he said. We're looking forward to doing that once we get the search and rescue complete. Some camps were aware of the dangers and monitoring the weather. At least one moved several hundred campers to higher ground before the floods. It's a shame they couldn't get word out to anybody else. Dumb fuck Senator Ted Cruz, of course, said recent government spending cuts to the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the National Weather Service did not delay any warnings. No, of course not. And maybe it didn't, but, you know, for him to come out and say that, this is where there's a time to have political fights, there's a time to disagree, this is not that time. Cruz said, yeah, because it's your fucking, you know, that's under your watch, fuckhead. There'll be a time to find out what could be done differently. My hope is in time we learn some lessons to implement the next time there's a flood. I don't know if that was a Texas accent. It almost sounded like Cartman a little bit. The Weather Service first advised of potential flooding on Thursday and then sent out a series of flash flood warnings in the early hours of Friday before issuing flash flood emergencies, a rare step that alerts the public to imminent danger. See, this all happened like right at the crack of dawn, like right as the sun's coming up, I think. Maybe a little sooner. Authorities and elected officials have said they did not expect such an intense downpour, the equivalent of a month's worth of rain. Some residents said they never received any warnings. Trumpy, who signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, said he plans to visit the state on Friday. Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're going to love that. He had said Sunday that he does not plan to rehire any of the federal meteorologists who were fired this year. This was a thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it, the president said. I mean, granted, it is called a flash flood, like it happens in a flash. That's why they call it a flash flood. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said local and federal weather services provided sufficient warnings. Apparently not. More than 36 people were unaccounted for across the state, and more could be missing. Governor Greg Abbott said Sunday. Search and rescue crews at one staging area said Monday that more than 1,000 volunteers had been directed to Kerr County. Kerrville city officials urged people to stop flying drones over the area after they said a private drone operating illegally Monday afternoon collided with a helicopter involved in emergency operations. The helicopter was forced to make an emergency landing and is out of service until further notice. So this is Camp Mystic right here. Like I said, South Central Texas. Camp Mystic was the center of catastrophic flooding that hit central Texas when a wall of water surged down the Guadalupe River in early hours of the 4th of July holiday. Yeah, so just so you know, this was like, they said it rose it rose like 8 meters in less than an hour. So that's around what, 20, around 25 feet in less than an hour. The century-old Christian girls camp says 27 campers and counselors were lost when they were swept away. So the camp sits on a river bend near the small town of Hunt in the scenic Texas Hill Country. It's one of several camps located in an area prone to flooding. Reagan Brown said his parents in their 80s managed to escape uphill as water inundated their home in the town of Hunt. When the couple learned that their 92-year-old neighbor was trapped in her attic, they went back and rescued her. Then they were able to reach their tool shed up higher ground, and neighbors throughout the early morning began to show up at their tool shed, and they all rode it out together, Brown said. Elizabeth Lester, a mother of children who were at Camp Mystic and nearby Camp La Junta during the flood, said her young son had to swim out his cabin window to escape. Her daughter fled up the hillside as floodwaters whipped against her legs. Yikes. Like chasing after her. So that's what's going on right now. I mean, I don't know if you're religious or not, whatever. Put some positivity towards these people down in Texas because, you know, they'll lose your kids. Like, and the kids were at summer camp too, you know, they were just having fun and shit like that. And the fucking flood just out of nowhere, you know. Yeah. And to a certain degree, I guess Cruz is kind of right. This isn't the time to politicize all this, but there's going to be a time, you know, when you got to say, look, you know, this area is prone to flash floods. Why do we have summer camps here? Why do we have people here? We need to, or at least do something to shore up the flooding if it does happen again like that, you know, but you don't know. Yes, yeah, that's right. Never accountable for their own actions or inactions. That's right, Chuck. Passing the buck. Passing the Ducci from coast to coast. Meanwhile, poverty, as far as food poverty here in the United States, guess what? In the last 40 years, it doubled. It sure did. Cuts to federal aid have impacted millions of Americans, new data shows. Look at that. Yes, when prices are extremely high, what's the first thing you do? You cut SNAP. You cut aid to people. Food insecurity among American adults has nearly doubled since 2021. Axios reported on Sunday, citing data from Morning Consult. The striking statistic comes amid steep cuts to federal food assistance programs in the world's largest economy, fueling concerns about the welfare of millions. Under Trump's big beautiful bill signed into law last week, Trump's big beautiful bill signed into law last week includes $230 billion in cuts to SNAP over the next decade, so about $23 billion a year. The legislation imposes stricter work requirements, extending mandates to individuals up to age 64 and reducing exemptions for parents. Yeah. Worker camps, anyone? The proportion of U.S. adults reporting that they sometimes or often do not have enough to eat has been steadily rising in recent years, according to the survey. In May, 15.6% of adults were classified as food insecure, nearly twice the rate recorded in 2021. At that time, expanded SNAP benefits and an enhanced child tax credit had helped reduce poverty and increase access to food. Remember that? When Trumpy did the top off, he did it for unemployment. He did it for, I think they gave people extra SNAP benefits, extra, and the child tax credit thing. And then it all went away because people liked it. The increase in food insecurity comes as the U.S. economy shows signs of strength. Really? And stock markets hit record high. The stock market has nothing to do with the U.S. economy. That's a totally different. That's a casino. All right? That's a fucking casino. John Lear, chief economist at Morning Consult, noted a problem. There's such a disconnect now between record highs on Wall Street and elevated levels of food insecurity. Yes, it has nothing to do with the economy. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, right? Just because the stock market numbers are high doesn't mean your numbers are high. Or maybe you're just high if you think the stock market actually does that. Anywho. In Philadelphia, the Share Food Program, a major food bank network, has reported a 120% increase in demand over the past 3 years. As soon as the government support pulled back in 2022, we started to see the numbers go up. The outlet quoted Executive Director George Matisik as saying, the situation is likely to worsen following the recent passage of sweeping cuts to the SNAP program by Congress, requiring states to increase funding and impose stricter work requirements for recipients. Critics say the changes could strip benefits from millions or reduce the amount of aid they receive. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that expanded work requirements could remove food assistance from 3.2 million people in an average month, the outlet noted. Food banks across the country are reportedly bracing for increased demand as the cuts take effect, the outlet said. Many organizations are already struggling to meet their current needs, and the anticipated rise in food insecurity is expected to strain resources further. Yeah, it's just going to go up. It's just going to go up. As long as food prices go up and wages are stagnant, and the shit's just going to keep going up and up. And there's going to be a breaking point, right? There's going to be a breaking point where, like, okay, now you're going to have like millions and millions of people homeless, starving in the richest country in history. In history, not just on the planet Earth right now, in history. Ain't no country ever been this rich. I'm rich, bitch. You're going to stop driving this truck? No, Red. I bought this truck. I bought this truck cash. I'm selling cigarettes. I don't know what that was. That was something from Chappelle's show. Meanwhile, in the UK, you thought we had water problems over here in the richest country that ever existed. UK official reveals shocking state of water supplies. O2. The UK has been pushed to the brink of water rationing due to years of mismanagement of resources and insufficient infrastructure. The country's environment minister has warned, who is that guy? The environment minister. In an interview with the paper published on Monday, Steve Reed said the country was faced with adopting measures often seen in drought-hit Mediterranean nations. The public, by and large, were not aware that at the time of the last general election, this country was looking at water rationing within 10 years, Reed said, speaking 1 year after Labour's election win. He warned that rebuilding the UK's essential systems, including water infrastructure, cannot be done over just 5 years. The strain on supply has increased due to growing demand from new industries such as battery factories and data centers, which require large volumes of water to cool their systems. They can't operate without vast amounts of water, he said. It's like, well, the machines need water. Fuck the people. Reed added that without intervention, the UK faced rationing and water being turned off at certain times of the day. Jesus. The warning follows a record-breaking June heat wave in the UK, and as temperatures are expected to exceed 86 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the country again this week, the government has secured £104 billion, around 136 billion American, for infrastructure upgrades over the next 5 years, following a spending review by regulator Ofwat. Ofwat, okay. Ofwat? The funds will be used to build reservoirs and reduce leakage, Reed said. However, he warned that despite growing public demand for action, restoring the country's water system would take more than 5 years. Other countries facing similar challenges have adopted a range of water-saving measures. Spain has restricted household water access to a few hours per day during droughts, while Australia enforces tiered water bans during dry spells. And if you use too much water in Australia, they send those murder nightmare spiders that are like 10 feet long after you, and they sit in your corner of your bedroom looking at you, staring at you, and they won't leave. They won't leave. I told you I'll have the money by Thursday. Singapore recycles up to 40% of its water through advanced purification, and South Korea uses smart meters to monitor usage and leaks. Yeah. Yeah, you keep thinking that. You keep thinking that. There's no spider up there. You see those big ass 10-foot spiders down there? I don't know if they're 10 foot, but Jesus Christ. I used to want to go down to Australia, you know, just pull a shrimp on the bobby, go see some kangaroos, and then you find out there's 10-foot murder spiders down there. What's up, Lady P? Lady P. Robot spiders are not here. I don't know. I'm seeing spiders. There may not actually be a spider there, but I'm seeing them, and that's all that matters. Wait, what? So yeah, water everywhere, but nary a drop to drink, it seems like, as Turkey and Iraq are going to probably have a water war here pretty soon. Turkey's water policies leave Iraq parched and poised for unrest. That's what happens. Because if you don't have water within 3 days, you're dead. All right. If you don't, or 3 days, you ain't got water. That's it. That's why water is more valuable than gold or anything else on this planet. Iraq is facing a deepening water crisis exacerbated by Turkey's upstream control over the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. With minimal water releases and Ankara tying future flows to politically fraught conditions, the crisis is pushing Iraq towards what officials warn could be a nationwide unrest. And see, we were talking about this like 20, 30 years ago about water rationing and stuff like that. MP Thayer Makayev, bless you, a member of Parliament's Agriculture and Water Committee, told Kurdish news outlet Shafak News on Saturday that Turkey's current water releases remain extremely limited. He stressed that the only long-term solution lies in constructing new dams to secure a strategic water reserve capable of meeting Iraq's growing needs. Mukayev revealed that Turkey has made any increase in water discharges conditional on awarding dam construction projects to Turkish firms, a demand that weakens Baghdad's negotiating position at a time when desperation is growing. The Iraqi people will not stand by idly, McKeith warned. If Turkey fails to honor its agreement and release Iraq's official water quota, we will see mass protests across every city and province hit by drought. In many areas, there isn't even drinking water, let alone water for farming, livestock, or daily use. He also cast doubt on Ankara's promises, urging Iraqi authorities to step up their efforts to save the south and central Euphrates regions, where the situation is beyond dire. The remarks came just days after Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announced that Turkey had agreed to raise the volume of water released toward Iraq, a move presented as a reprieve for communities bracing for another scorching summer after months of drought. Speaking during a visit to Basra last Wednesday, Sudani said Ankara, via President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, had agreed to release 320 cubic meters per second of water to the Mosul Dam and 350 cubic meters per second via Iraq's border with Syria. He expressed hope the additional flows would help alleviate shortages along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The prime minister said his government had launched diplomatic efforts to address the water crisis, particularly with Turkey, through recent high-level communications. But on the ground, the situation remains troubling. A technical official at the Mosul Dam said the water outflows to the Tigris had indeed risen to 350 cubic meters per second. However, actual inflows from Turkey were still falling short of the levels set out in previous bilateral agreements. Just days earlier, the same source had told reporters that inflows from Turkey remain unchanged and that no increased volumes had been registered. Iraq's water reserves are now at their lowest levels in years. Experts warn that beyond reduced access, falling water levels will worsen pollution, raise salinity levels, and severely damage agriculture, fisheries, and livestock, along with broader economic and public health risks. Social unrest is also a growing concern, particularly in the marshlands of the south, where poverty, displacement, and intercommunal tensions are on the rise. In Basra, residents report that water salinity has reached levels exceeding international health standards, forcing many purification stations offline. Unable to process the increasingly brackish water contaminated by salt and industrial waste, the stations are leaving large areas without safe drinking water. The price of bottled water has doubled in recent weeks, from 10,000 to more than 20,000 Iraqi dinars per ton, further squeezing lower-income households. On June 23rd, the Parliamentary Agriculture and Water Committee confirmed that water inflows in the Tigris and Euphrates had dropped below 50% of their normal levels. Water reserves in dams have also halved. The committee called on Sudani to activate Iraq's trade leverage to pressure Turkey into action. The crisis is part of a longer-term pattern. Iraq has faced diminishing rainfall over recent years, driven by climate change or other things. But the reduction in water volumes arriving via the Tigris and Euphrates, both of which originate in Turkey, and flow through Syria and Iraq has been compounded by upstream policies in Ankara and Tehran in Iran. According to a recent World Bank report, Iraq will need an estimated $233 billion in investment by 2040 to meet its development needs and embark on a path towards green, inclusive growth. That equates to roughly 6% of the country's annual GDP. As temperatures rise and reservoirs shrink, Iraq is being forced to confront a future in which water scarcity is not just a seasonal hardship, but a permanent existential threat. Exactly. Every year. And it's just getting worse and worse. Like I said, when I was a kid, they were talking about this back in the 70s. About how in 50 years you're going to see like oil dry up and you're going to see water wars and shit. 50 years later. Why couldn't they have been like Jay from Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob? Instead of predicting gloom and doom, why didn't they predict like titties and money or something like that? Move to a flood zone. Yeah, I know, right? That's the way it works. Yeah, so and then you look here in the United States and you have communities like Flint, Michigan and Jackson, Mississippi who can't even get, their infrastructure redone so they can have clean water. CBC voter, hello, good to see you. Happy Tuesday to you, my friend. Like I said, you don't fuck with water, all right? Don't go out in the middle of it, don't go out in the middle of the ocean. What's wrong with you? Don't do that shit. Don't drink too much of it, but if you don't drink enough, you'll die. That's what happens. What's up, Bella? Good morning, good afternoon to you, whatever the case may be. And that's going to get, food prices up and the water scarcity, the remaining boomers and the Gen Xers are the old people left now. And now if we don't do something now, in the next 50 years, maybe none of us will actually be here. Who knows? In Syria, they love this new cat, this new guy that's in there now. They didn't like Bashar al-Assad. They didn't like him very much, but they liked this guy. I think Trump called him handsome or something. Or maybe that was the El Salvador guy. I always get those two confused. Anyway, kissies and huggies as the U.S. revokes terror designation for Al-Qaeda-linked HTS. Oh, look at that. From rebel to delicious. U.S. President Trumpy has revoked the foreign terrorist organization designation for the Nusra Front, later known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, according to a State Department memo filed on July 7th, which was yesterday. Secretary of State Aquaman signed the memo ordering the move on June 23rd. Actually, he got a jellyfish to sign it for him because he had a cramp in his hand. In consultation with the... Oh, wait a minute. Who's this, him? Yeah. In consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of the Treasury, I hereby revoke the designation of Al-Nusra Front, also known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and other aliases, as a foreign terrorist organization. Brrr. And then he drank some water. The U.S. move comes exactly 4 months after militants affiliated with the group helped carry out the massacres of over 1,600 Alawite civilians. Well, the U.S. loves some massacres, that's for sure. An investigation by Reuters concluded that the HTS leadership in Damascus was responsible. The Nusra Front was officially established in 2012 as an offshoot of the Islamic State of Iraq, later known as ISIS, and was formerly the official Al-Qaeda franchise in the country. There was another franchise there, but it was AAA, and they weren't very good. The U.S., Israel, Britain, France, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Turkey all cooperated to covertly support the Nusra Front in hopes of toppling the government of former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Congratulations. Now, you may have created another theocracy like you did in Iran by accident. By placing the Nusra Front on its terror list, Washington and its allies were able to plausibly deny their covert support for the group. U.S. and Allied support for Nusra was mostly funneled to it through other armed groups known as the Free Syrian Army, the FSA. The operation to topple Assad using al-Qaeda-linked groups promoting genocide against Syria's minorities, dubbed Timber Sycamore by the CIA, plunged the country into war for 14 years, starting in 2011. In December last year, the Nusra Front, by then rebranded as HTS, successfully ousted Assad and took power in Damascus. HTS leader and Syrian interim president Ahmad al-Shara and Trumpy met in Riyadh in May. Trump praised his past as a Nusra and ISIS chief because Trump is an idiot and doesn't really know what the fuck all that means. After the meeting, Trump announced he would lift U.S. sanctions on Syria, probably because he had pretty eyes or some shit, because Trump's such a fucking weirdo. Last week, Trump signed an executive order terminating the sanctions which were imposed to destroy the Syrian economy as part of the effort to depose Assad. The sanctions, combined with the U.S. occupation of Syria's oil fields, we're there for the oil, baby. Oil, baby. I love that oil. Prevented reconstruction following the war and helped plunge the country into an economic crisis, in particular after 2019. The Syrian currency lost most of its value against the dollar, pushing millions of Syrians into desperate poverty. And don't forget, Israel bombing the fuck out of them and taking about 80 or 90% of their munitions out. Yeah, Syria sounds like a fun place to live. I want to live there. Don't you? You probably don't. So what's it going to take for peace in, I was going to say peace in the Middle East. But I can't find anything to rhyme with Ukraine and Russia. Peace in the Europe East, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Russia said, we want peace. You're going to have to do this shit. So Lavrov, their foreign minister, lists Russia demands for Ukraine peace. We will need several cases of Klingon blood wine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has listed Moscow's demands for a peace deal that would end its ongoing invasion of Ukraine, including Kiev's demilitarization and neutrality, international recognition of territory occupied by Moscow, and the lifting of sanctions. Cookie puss. You stop it. These provisions must be included in a... wait a minute. Is this him talking? These provisions must be included in legally binding agreement for peaceful settlement. Lavrov told Hungarian publication Magyar Nemzet in an interview. That was also the name of my alt-rock band back in the early 80s. Newsweek has contacted the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry for comment. Trumpy is trying to broker a swift end to Russia's war, a major test of his self-styled peacemaker status. Peacemaker, what an idiot. But said a recent call with Russian President Vladimir Putin left him very disappointed, and he did not think Moscow wanted to end the fighting. Well, not on your terms. Ukrainian president and Scarface impersonator Voldemort Zelensky has pointed to the ongoing pounding of his country's cities, giggity, by Russian strikes as evidence that Putin does not truly seek peace and intends to continue waging war to meet his goals until he is forced to stop. Lavrov said an end to the security threat posed to Russia by NATO expansion, including its potential inclusion of Ukraine, was essential. He demanded the demilitarization of Ukraine to assure Kiev's neutrality. Moscow's top diplomat also said his country wants protections for ethnic Russians and Russian culture in Ukraine, which he accused Kiev of destroying since 2014. Lavrov demanded international legal recognition of the new territorial realities, citing Russian occupation of Crimea, Sevastopol, Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. Kherson? What the hell? Wait a minute. That's a Deep Space Nine reference. And Lavrov also called for lifting sanctions on Russia, rescinding all lawsuits against Russia, and returning the illegally seized Western-based assets. Give us back our money you stole, motherfuckers. That's what he's saying. And then there's more from the thing there. Okay, so this is just more stuff about this, but this is that's the terms, right? Lift the sanctions, right? Recognized the territory occupied by Moscow. Demilitarization and neutrality of Ukraine. And then that's it. So, he said, hey, you want the war to end? Hey, stop being stupid pussies. All right. You say, all right, no more bang, bang. We stop. All right. Then you give us shit and we go our separate ways. No? So, yeah. Some Lavrov, that guy scares me. Right? I mean, not like he's like some sort of evil villain, but he's just, you look in his eyes, you're like, I don't know how to talk to you. I'm so scared. Ooh, sweat bead, moist. What else we got? Oh yeah, so this is some interesting. If you're a rich person in Europe, you think, oh well, Russian sanctions. Well, that's not going to affect me. Womp womp. Russia sanctions trigger European trust fund crisis. This is from Financial Times. Liechtenstein. You can't Liechtenstein without lick. It's just part of the name. Liechtenstein is scrambling to contain a crisis triggered by Western sanctions on Russia that has left hundreds of trust funds in legal limbo, the Financial Times reported on Monday. At the center of the crisis are so-called zombie trusts. Money. That are legally recognized but remain frozen after fiduciaries, asset managers acting on others' behalf, and board directors resigned en masse to avoid falling foul of U.S. restrictions. We're talking about multi-billion-dollar floating zombie trusts, and there is no solution yet. I have never seen anything like it, said a Vaduz-based lawyer whose clients include several of the frozen entities. I guess Vaduz is the capital of Liechtenstein? I don't know. I know it's the smallest country, except for Vatican City, I think. The Alpine microstate, a key hub for Europe's ultra-wealthy, long prized for its favorable tax and legal frameworks, Nazis adopted EU sanctions against Moscow following the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022. However, U.S. measures imposed in 2024 on Liechtenstein-based entities linked to Russian nationals have pushed the principality's vast trust industry into turmoil. Yeah! Oh, you poor rich people. Trusts hold anything from $5 million in cash to yachts, planes, family offices, and luxury real estate. According to the report, many of the affected assets belong to non-sanctioned Russians living in France, Italy, or the UAE. Last year, Washington warned Liechtenstein. Last year, Washington warned Liechtenstein and other European states it could impose secondary sanctions on institutions working with certain Russian clients, even if they're not individually sanctioned. In September 2024, Liechtenstein's financial regulator advised that cutting ties with exposed clients was the only appropriate way to mitigate legal and reputational risk. At least 350 entities are currently in limbo, with 85 of them just straight up orphaned. Officials and legal experts warn as many as 800 trusts could ultimately be affected. The government has launched an emergency task force to tackle the problem, the Financial Times wrote. Justice official Martin Algie, that's an unfortunate last name, confirmed the search for new board members and liquidators is ongoing but difficult. Another concern lawyers warn is potential pressure from Moscow. There is a risk from the U.S., but also from Russia now, an unprecedented and unparalleled risk from the other side that is equally powerful, said Johannes Gasser, partner at Gasser Partner. partner at Gosser Partner from the School of Redundancy School. Moscow has condemned the illegal Western sanctions, warning of tit-for-tat, giggity, measures and saying Western states are damaging their own economies, which they absolutely are. Bankers and lawyers say the crisis could spill into Liechtenstein's broader financial sector, including major banks, and threaten the country's standing as a trusted global wealth hub, known for its legal protections and insulation from geopolitical fallout and Nazis. This is starting to be problematic for the Liechtenstein Financial Center, warned MP Thomas Voigt. Yeah, so you're like, well, why aren't the wealthy suffering? Well, they're not suffering, but look, I couldn't imagine having so much money tied up into shit like like boats and land and all this stuff, and you have to trust people to help you manage that shit. Fuck that. I don't trust nobody. I mean, I do, but I don't know. I have friends that I trust, but I don't think I'd trust them with a $300, land deal or some bullshit like that. Because I'd never have a $300 million land deal. I could sell you somebody else's land. Meanwhile, Trump's not done pissing off friends alike as Trump announces stinging tariffs on U.S. allies in Asia. Aww. Trumpy's off his meds. He announced new tariffs on several countries, including key Asian allies, Japan and South Korea. Yesterday, Trump posted near identical letters on Truth Social to Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, declaring a tariff of only 25% on all imports starting August 1st. He said economic ties with Tokyo and Seoul had been unfortunately far from reciprocal. Oh, you think? We have decided to move forward with you, but only with more balanced and fair trade, he wrote. We invite you to participate in the extraordinary economy of the United States, the #1 market in the world by far. He warned that another 25% could follow if Japan or South Korea raised their own tariffs in response. Trump also imposed 25% tariffs on goods from Kazakhstan, Malaysia, and Tunisia. Higher rates will apply to imports from South Africa and Bosnia and Herzegovina, 30%, Indonesia 32%, Serbia and Bangladesh at 35%, Thailand and Cambodia at 36%, and Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar at 40%. I think Vietnam was the highest one anyway. The U.S. president has long argued that tariffs fix unfair trade deficits and stop other countries from ripping off the U.S. I think it's your U.S. companies that are ripping off the U.S., we're being totally honest here. Critics say the policy raises domestic prices and hurts the economy. Democrats and some economists call the new rates poorly designed. The first round of levies came on April 2nd with the so-called Liberation Day package. It included a 10% tariff on all imports and steeper rates for China, Mexico, Canada, and the EU. Some tariffs were paused for 90 days to allow time for talks and avoid a full-scale trade war. Earlier this month, Trump said more tariffs were coming if deals weren't reached. By the 9th, they'll be fully covered, he told reporters Friday. They'll range in value from maybe 60 or 70% tariffs to 10 and 20% tariffs. Yeah, so Trumpy. Lainey gave me a bird with some coffee in it for $4. Thanks. Appreciate you. Isn't that wild? So Trump's not done. And it's only halfway through his first year of his first term. So get some water. I need some water. But coffee has water in it. I know, right? Keep it up, Trump. American companies won't have anything to sell. Exactly. They sure as hell won't. We told you last week about China basically kicking the United States in the dick and saying, all right, we'll play around and we'll try and work out some things with these critical mineral minerals that we need for all our business and stuff. Well, guess what? China said, fuck all y'all. We're buying up mines globally. So they're trying to get this on lockdown for real. Chinese companies are buying more mines abroad than they have in over a decade to secure key raw minerals as Western countries restrict their investments, the Financial Times has reported. 10 deals, each worth more than $100 million, were signed last year, the highest since 2013, the outlet reported on Sunday, citing an analyst of S&P and Merger Market data. The rise in deal-making partly reflects China's efforts to get ahead of the deteriorating geopolitical climate, which is making it increasingly unwelcome as an investor in key countries such as Canada and the U.S., the FT quoted analysts and investors as saying. Major deals reportedly included gold mines in Kazakhstan, Ghana, and the Ivory Coast, a copper mine in Zambia, a copper gold mine in Brazil, and a 50% stake in a rare earth project in Tanzania. China is the leading refiner of rare earths, responsible for 90% of the global processing capacity, and holds the world's largest reserves of the critical elements. Beijing has made mineral security a national strategic priority as the global demand for lithium, cobalt, and nickel rises with the growth of clean energy and so-called clean energy and high-tech manufacturing. Western governments have been trying to curb China's access to key minerals and processing technologies, aiming to secure their own chains and reduce dependency. The U.S. and its allies have blocked Chinese investments, imposed export restrictions, and launched new partnerships to source minerals elsewhere. Good luck with that. Trying to refurbish these old mines here in the United States. Trump has framed mineral access as a strategic priority, tying it to diplomacy and conflict resolution. Last month, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo signed a U.S.-brokered peace deal, which Trump said secured American rights to Congolese mineral wealth. In April, Washington also signed a minerals agreement with Ukraine, presented as partial repayment for military aid. Last month, Washington and Beijing reached a deal to resume rare earth exports. China previously imposed export restrictions on those materials in retaliation to U.S. tariffs, disrupting global supply chains. And that's all these tariffs do. That's all they do, is just disrupt global supply chains. You know what I'm saying? Hang on a minute. We got Fonzie outside. Vroom, 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 vroom. Wheels are turning, my friends. Wheels are turning, right? You're starting to see less water. The water thing is very concerning to me because, like I said, after 3 days, you don't have water. That's a wrap. You're done, right? So water is the most precious thing. And then food, and then everything else you need after that. Air. Well, I'd probably say water, air, food. And then you have like this mad scramble for these earth elements that are necessary for today's devices. Speaking of China, them and Iran are doing some business together. Iran receives Chinese surface-to-air missile batteries after Israel ceasefire deal. Every time I see this kind of camouflage, it's all, digital stuff, I always think, man, that is the worst 80s video game I've ever seen. Iran has taken possession of Chinese surface-to-air missile batteries as Tehran rapidly moves to rebuild defenses destroyed by Israel during their recent 12-day conflict, sources have told Middle East Eye. The deliveries of Chinese surface-to-air missile batteries occurred after a de facto truce was struck between Iran and Israel on June 24th. An Arab official familiar with the intelligence told MEE. Another Arab official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive intelligence said that the U.S.'s Arab allies were aware of Tehran's efforts to back up and reinforce its air defenses, and that the White House had been informed of Iran's progress. The officials did not say how many surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs, Iran had received from China since the end of the fighting. However, one of the Arab officials said that Iran was paying for the SAMs with oil shipments. Oil for weapons. Oh, yeah. Iran said, look, I got all this oil, baby. Let me rub this oil all over you. You give me some of them weapons, baby. And China's like, oh, you stupid. China is the largest importer of Iranian oil, and the U.S. Energy Information Administration suggested in a report in May that nearly 90% of Iran's crude and condensate exports flow to Beijing. For several years, China has imported record amounts of Iranian oil, despite U.S. sanctions, using countries such as Malaysia as a transshipment hub to mask the crude's origin. Sneaky oil. The Iranians engage in creative ways of trading, the second Arab official told MEE. Bibi and Trumpy are expected to discuss Iran and its nuclear program when they meet this week. Middle East Eye reached out to the White House for comment, but did not receive a response by the time of publication, saying someone else was using the phone and I have to wait for them to hang up like it's 1978. The shipments mark a deepening of Beijing's relationship with Tehran and come as some in the West noted that China and Russia appeared to keep a distance from Iran amid Israel's unprecedented attacks. Israel achieved air superiority over Iran's skies during the conflict, destroying ballistic missile launch pads and assassinating Iranian generals and scientists. Despite this, the government endured the strikes. It was also able to continue firing ballistic missiles at Israel, decimating several sensitive sites in Tel Aviv and Haifa before a ceasefire took hold. Yeah, that's why there was a ceasefire, because Iran was pummeling the shit out of Israel, and the U.S. was like, we got to help our friends. In the late 1980s, Iran received HY-2 Silkworm cruise missiles from China via North Korea when it was at war with Iraq. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, when Iran. Okay. The Islamic Republic used the missiles to attack. I was like, was China at war with North Korea? No. The Islamic Republic used the missiles to attack Kuwait and strike a U.S.-flagged oil tanker during the so-called tanker wars. In 2010, there were reports that Iran received HQ-9 anti-aircraft missiles from China. Iran is believed to use Russia's S-300, which is capable of engaging aircraft and UAVs, in addition to providing some cruise and ballistic missile defense capability, as well as older Chinese systems and locally produced batteries such as the Cordad series and the Bavar 373. I remember the days of using a Bavar 373. It was Club 50. These systems are believed to have a limited ability to shoot down the U.S. F-35 stealth warplane that Israel operates. So now, don't forget, you have that, and now China has this technology too. I think it's 4 F-35s that shows like all kinds of fake signals and stuff on their radar to confuse them. The U.S. thinks they're superior, but the rest of the world has caught up. China already sells its HQ-9 and HQ-16 air defense systems to Pakistan. Egypt is also understood to have China's HQ-9 system, according to reports. So China's out there wheeling and dealing. Who wants weapons, baby? Who wants these weapons? Come get them. Come on. Come on now. You know the West is batshit crazy. Y'all come get this shit. Iran's like, we'll give you some oil. And China's like, come on, baby, we need oil. And lest we forget our friends, the Houthis. Yemen's Houthis take credit for attack on ship in Red Sea and fire more missiles at Israel. Or as Yemen likes to call it, Monday. Yemen's Houthis on Monday took credit for the attack on the Magic Seas, which is that's the porn name of Cesar Romero, as a matter of fact. A Greek-owned bulk carrier that came under fire on Sunday, forcing the crew to abandon ship. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, but when they're on tour, they go by the Houthis because it looks great on a t-shirt. Also fired more missiles at Israel following a round of Israeli airstrikes against Yemeni ports. The attack on the Magic Seas marked the first time the Houthis targeted a commercial ship this year. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Saree said the attack was carried out over claims that the company that owns the ship repeatedly violated the Houthis' ban on vessels entering Israeli ports, which it has implemented in response to Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. According to Al Jazeera, Michael Borderoglu, a representative of STEM Shipping, one of the Magic Sea's commercial managers, said that the ship had been carrying iron and fertilizers from China to Turkey and had nothing to do with Israel. No, it had nothing to do with Israel. No, not at all. The ship was targeted with small arms, rockets, and drones, and Saree claimed that it sank. Another ship, the Greek-owned Eternity Sea cargo vessel, was attacked in the Red Sea on Monday, and 2 crew members were reported wounded and 2 missing. So far, no one has claimed responsibility. But I bet you this guy knows. He knows. These are cute guys. You guys are crazy. Saree also announced a series of missile and drone attacks targeting Israel, operations that he said would continue until Israel ends its war and siege on Gaza. We're fully prepared for a sustained and prolonged confrontation to confront hostile warplanes and to counter attempts to break the naval blockade imposed by our armed forces on the enemy in triumphing for our people in Gaza, he said. According to Israeli media, a ballistic missile fired from Yemen fell short of its target, marking the 4th missile attack within 2 days. The Israeli military also said that it intercepted a drone fired from Yemen on Monday, to which everyone responded, "Nobody believes you." The Israeli airstrikes that hit Yemen on Sunday night targeted the ports of Hodeidah, Ras Isa, and Salif, which are all located in the Hodeidah Governorate on the Red Sea. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz dubbed the attack Operation Black Flag. And also said that it targeted the Galaxy Leader, a ship the Houthis seized in 2023 when the Yemeni group first started its attacks on Israel-linked shipping. So good to see the Houthis back in town. You know, they got a new album out. Be sure to support independent music. They should have a band. While we're fighting Israel, we're going to rock and roll, motherfuckers. How's everybody doing? We doing all right? Kill your egregories. A cat named China. China. You're a special kind of special. And I wouldn't have it any other way. How many more we got here? Oh yeah, we got plenty. We got to get into our Israeli sucks segment here. Well, it sucks to be these guys, these Israelis, at least 6 Israeli soldiers killed in major resistance ambush in northern Gaza. So that's, you push people, they start to push back. It's just going to happen. At least 6 Israeli soldiers were killed and 10 others wounded, some critically, during a major resistance operation in Beit Hanun, I should say, northern Gaza yesterday. Another soldier remains missing, according to multiple Israeli media reports cited in Al Jazeera. The incident occurred when Palestinian resistance fighters detonated an explosive device targeting an armored vehicle transporting Israeli soldiers. Moments later, fighters reportedly struck a robot loaded with ammunition using an anti-tank missile as it was being prepared. Robot. The resistance then shelled the Israeli rescue forces that rushed to the scene. Residents of Ashkelon, near Gaza's northern periphery, reported hearing a huge explosion, while Israeli sources confirmed that one of the wounded is a senior officer. And then there's some explosions there. I saw that one. It's all right. The soldiers targeted in the operation reportedly belonged to the elite Yahalom engineering unit, which specializes in explosives and the demolition of Palestinian homes, according to Al Jazeera. Helicopters were deployed to evacuate the wounded and opened heavy fire in the area. Israeli outlets described the scene as chaotic, with several military vehicles ablaze and the incident still developing. This attack is part of a broader escalation in resistance operations across the Gaza Strip in recent weeks. June marked the deadliest month for Israeli occupation forces since the beginning of the war, with 20 soldiers and officers killed and many others wounded. 10 days ago, the Israeli military acknowledged the deaths of an officer and 6 soldiers in battles in southern Gaza. That announcement came after reports of a complex ambush in Khan Yunis that left 4 soldiers dead and 17 injured. In a parallel development, Al Jazeera aired exclusive footage documenting a series of sophisticated Israeli surveillance devices uncovered by the Palestinian resistance across the Gaza Strip. These include eavesdropping tools and cameras hidden among rubble, debris, and even inside civilian infrastructure. A Hamas security official told Al Jazeera that resistance engineers had seized and repurposed multiple devices planted by Israeli forces or their collaborators. Among them was a booby-trapped, giggity, listening device disguised as a discarded plastic container placed along a road near a central shelter in Gaza City. Engineers successfully dismantled the device, understood its mechanism, and used that knowledge to capture more, the official added. See, when you're in desperate situation like that, you get very, very clever, and you learn how to do shit. Other devices were found near significant locations, including one close to a prisoner handover site and another camouflaged inside a concrete block at a hospital courtyard in southern Gaza. A video recording and transmission device was also seized from a vital area designed to activate upon detecting movement and transmit real-time footage to Israeli intelligence collection hubs. Jesus. According to the resistance official, the devices were primarily deployed using quadcopter drones capable of stealth insertion. Oh my. That's what my ex-girlfriends always blamed me, accused me of being a stealth insertion. One seized device could be operated remotely via a mobile app or by sending a text message to an embedded SIM card. Beyond neutralizing these devices, the resistance also exposed their contents. One recording reportedly showed Israeli soldiers killing a Palestinian woman who had raised her hands while trying to cross the street in Wadi Gaza. That's not shocking to hear at all. The security official emphasized that the resistance has begun using these tools for counterintelligence and battlefield awareness, urging civilians to remain vigilant as some devices may be rigged to explode upon tampering. So, yeah, so, Israel, you don't hear a lot because Israel doesn't allow the press inside Gaza. So, they want you to, oh, well, we'll tell you what happens. Our PR we wouldn't lie to you. And, yeah, they would lie all the time. And they do. And they lie all the fucking time. And in the what else is new portion of our news, Israeli strikes on Gaza kill 104 Palestinians over 24 hours. It's from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. These stories are at news.antiwar.com. He has a good compilation of sources over there. We've got the list of a lot of them down below in the description if you want to check them out. And we'll have the links to all these stories once the show's done. I just forgot to do them this morning. But they'll be in there on the Google link. You just click that and you'll see not only this today's show, you can see previous shows, or at least, the ones I have up there. So Gaza's health ministry said that Israeli forces killed 104 Palestinians and wounded 356 over the previous 24-hour period as U.S.-backed Israeli strikes continue to pound targets across the Strip, and Israeli troops continue to kill people seeking aid. The ministry said the body of a Palestinian killed by a previous Israeli attack was also recovered from the rubble. There are still a number of victims under the rubble and on the streets, and ambulance and civil defense crews cannot reach them, the ministry wrote on Telegram. Israeli strikes on Monday included the overnight bombing of a medical clinic in Gaza City's Rimal neighborhood that was being used as a shelter for displaced Palestinians. At least 6 people were reported killed in the strike, including a baby. On Monday night, Israeli media reported that 6 Israeli soldiers were killed, as we told you about that, the Bayat Hanun. The health ministry said that among the dead over the past day were 7 Palestinians attempting to get aid. The Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that 5 people were killed and others were wounded on Monday when Israeli troops opened fire on a crowd seeking aid near a distribution point run by GHF in Rafah, southern Gaza. Surprise, fucking surprise. Since the GHF began operating in Gaza at the end of May, 758 Palestinians have been killed and over 5,000 have been wounded while attempting to get food, according to the health ministry's numbers. The Israeli military admitted that its forces had killed some civilians near the aid sites after Haaretz reported that IDF troops had been given orders to shoot unarmed Palestinians seeking food, even though they pose no threat. The only democracy in the Middle East. American contractors who worked at GHF sites have also blown the whistle on their colleagues for using live ammunition and stun grenades to disperse hungry Palestinians who pose no threat. One former contractor who spoke to the BBC said that in at least one incident, it appeared a civilian was hit by live fire. We told you about that last week. And there's the numbers. I don't really quote the numbers anymore because these are highly inaccurate. We don't know how many are under the, we're going to say at least 100,000. That has to be at least 100,000, if not many more that have been killed in Gaza. So, speaking of our friends, the GHF, guess what? They want to build friend zones in Gaza. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. They're not friend zones. They're fucking concentration camps. GHF developed plan to build concentration camps inside and outside of Gaza. Now, if you're going to put concentration camps in Israel, you have to at least observe the irony of what you're doing. The GHF, controversial U.S. and Israeli-backed aid scheme, has proposed building concentration camps both inside and outside Gaza as part of a plan to displace the Strip's population, Reuters reported yesterday. According to a source familiar with the matter speaking with Reuters, the GHF developed the $2 billion plan to build humanitarian transit areas. That's what they were at. Auschwitz was a humanitarian transit area. Did you know that? Jesus Christ. The plan was drawn up sometime after February 11th, later submitted to Trumpy and recently discussed in the White House, the source added. Reuters was allowed to view the plan, which proposes building camps as large-scale and voluntary places, voluntary, highly in like 8 quote marks there, places where the Palestinians from Gaza population could temporarily reside, de-radicalize, reintegrate, and prepare to relocate if they wish to do so. Holy shit. A slide deck presentation seen by Reuters says the humanitarian transit zones, the HTZs, would be built to gain trust with the local population and to facilitate Trump's vision for God. Okay, so you want to try... Folks, here in America, I want to gain trust with you. So what am I going to do? I'm going to build a concentration camp and put you in it and see how much you're going to trust me after that. The presentation said that the GHF is working to secure over $2 billion to build secure and oversee large-scale humanitarian transit areas, those HTAs, or Zs. What is it, area or a zone? See, they already changed it. Inside and potentially outside the Gaza Strip for the population to reside while Gaza is demilitarized and rebuilt. So they want to build camps for these people so they can rebuild Gaza. For them, I'm sure. The HTA would be phase 2 in an operation that began with GHF opening food distribution sites in Gaza in May, according to 2 sources involved in the project speaking with Reuters. The GHF was established by the U.S. and Israel to take over food distribution from the UN and international organizations. They said everybody is Hamas if you're not GHF. It is distributing aid at just 3 points operated by armed private security contractors. The sites are located behind Israeli army lines and far from the makeshift tent camps where most Palestinians are now living. The Gaza Health Ministry said on Saturday at least 743 Palestinians have been killed, and now that, like I said, over 5,000 injured while seeking food from GHF sites. Israeli soldiers have received permission to shoot desperate Palestinians approaching the sites. Reuters added that the proposal envisions building a total of 8 camps, with each designed to hold hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, including possibly in Egypt, Cyprus, and other unnamed countries. Black sites. The proposal did not specify how the Palestinians would be relocated into the camps or where the camps could be built outside Gaza, Reuters wrote, adding that a map shows arrows pointing to Egypt and Cyprus, as well as other points labeled additional destination? Question mark. Jeremy Konendijk, president of Refugees International and a former senior U.S. Agency for International Development official from USAID, criticized the plan after reviewing it. There is no such thing as voluntary displacement amongst a population that has been under constant bombardment for nearly 2 years and has been cut off from the essential aid, Konendijk told Reuters. Israel has long sought to forcibly displace or ethnically cleanse the Strip's 2.2 million Palestinian inhabitants, moving them to Egypt, Africa, Europe, or elsewhere under the guise of humanitarian concern. Well, you have to be human to be humanitarian, right? In addition to destroying the majority of Gaza through bombing, Israeli lawmakers wish to establish Jewish settlements in Gaza, while President Trumpy and Israeli and U.S. businessmen seek to profit from delivering Gaza as high-end real estate development, the Riviera of the Middle East, after it has been cleansed of Palestinians. And, so they're pushing this, and then these fucking psychopaths in the Knesset, too, are doing it, too. Or not in the government anyway. Israeli Defense Minister orders plan to build concentration camp. He said, "Let's do it, baby." Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has ordered the IDF to prepare a plan to establish a camp to concentrate the entire civilian population of Gaza on the ruins of the southern Gaza city of Rafah. According to Haaretz, Katz said that once Palestinian civilians are pushed into what he's calling a humanitarian city, they will not be allowed to leave. Cities that you're not allowed to leave are usually called prisons, aren't they? The idea is the first to transfer 600,000 civilians from the Al-Mawasi tent camp on the coast in southern Gaza, followed by the rest of the civilian population. Katz said that if conditions permit, the city could be built during a potential 60-day ceasefire, comments that will make Hamas less likely to agree to a temporary truce. The Israeli defense minister also said that during the ceasefire, Israel will maintain control of the Morag corridor, a strip of land between Rafah and Khan Yunis. Katz also suggested the camp can facilitate the government's ultimate goal of ethnic cleansing, which it refers to as voluntary migration, as we all know is bullshit, telling reporters that Israel will implement the immigration plan, which will happen. Israeli finance minister and leader of the sixth level of hell, Bezalel Smotrich, has previously said that the goal of Israel's current military operation, dubbed Gideon's Chariots, Jesus Christ, these names, is to create a concentration camp south of the Morag corridor and pressure the civilians forced into it to leave. The Gazan citizens will be concentrated in the south. They will be totally despairing, understanding that there's no hope and nothing to look for in Gaza, and will be looking for relocation to begin a new life in other places, Smotrich said in May, because Smotrich is a psychopath. Katz's comments come after Reuters reported that the controversial GHF had proposed to the U.S. government the idea of creating camps, as we just told you about. Katz said Israel is seeking international partners to manage the zone and that 4 aid distribution sites would be set up inside the camp, suggesting the GHF will be involved in the plan. Oh boy. GHF aid sites are secured by American security contractors who are pretty much psychopaths in and of themselves. And guess what? Israel's going to do that. In the U.S., they're buddies. Let's build some more bases for you after Iran kind of fucked your shit up. 17 out of 10 individuals are always skeptical of statistics. Okay. Yeah. So the U.S. is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to upgrade and build new military bases for Israel. The total cost of the facilities could exceed $1 billion. That's okay. We'll cut Medicaid and SNAP and all those things that you actually need so that Israel will have military bases. So you can sleep better at night knowing Israel has military bases. Food for you? It's a sacrifice, isn't it? Pretty dumb sacrifice, but anywho. Haaretz reports the U.S. This is from Kyle Anzalone over at the Libertarian Institute. Another good site there. The U.S. military aid construction program for Israel includes ongoing projects valued at more than $250 million, with future projects expected to exceed $1 billion. The new bases will accommodate refueling aircraft and helicopters. An additional project is building a new headquarters for an Israeli naval commando unit. Washington provides Tel Aviv with a massive amount of military assistance as it is. The U.S. government has an agreement to send Israel at least $3.8 billion in security aid every year. Since October 7th, 2023, Washington has provided Tel Aviv with an additional $18 billion in assistance. The U.S. military has also spent billions on operations to benefit Israel. The U.S. fought a war against Ansar Allah in Yemen in an attempt to break the Red Sea blockade on Israeli-linked shipping. Washington has also spent billions of dollars on interceptors to shoot down Iranian missiles. The military support for Israel has given Tel Aviv a blank check for genocide, multiple invasions, and provoking aggressive wars. Washington's weapons, diplomatic support at the UN, and the U.S. military shooting down Iranian missiles have insulated Israel from almost all conquest of its attacks on Gaza, the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and Iran. More money, more money, more money. Come on, Israel's like, come on, baby. Give me one of those guns that shoot the money. Go, you know, it kind of does that. That is such a weird invention. Why would you want a gun that shoots $1 bills at you? That's probably just one of the most weirdest things. We got a turkey, which is in bowling, is 3 strikes in a row. So we have 3 Libertarian Institute pieces in a row to kind of wind down the news block here. What are we looking at? 11:30? Yeah, all right. So what happened during the war? How bad was Israel fucked up from Iran? So Iranian missiles hit 5 Israeli military bases during the war. 5 Israeli military facilities were damaged during the 12-day war with Iran. Among the sites that were damaged include the base housing the IDF's top intelligence unit. The damage to the bases is based on a review of satellite images obtained from the University of Oregon. The images suggest 5 previously unreported military facilities were hit by 6 Iranian missiles in the north, south, and center of Israel, including a major air base, an intelligence gathering center, and a logistics base, the Telegraph reported on Saturday. Remember, like several weeks ago, we told you that Iran had gotten hold of this cache of different information about Israel's like their nuclear sites and all their military bases and whatnot. Tel Aviv has attempted to prevent the disclosure of successful Iranian strikes during the war, claiming revealing damage helps Tehran calibrate its targeting. After Tel Aviv launched a surprise attack on June 13th, Tehran retaliated by firing long-range missiles at Israel. With U.S. assistance, Israel claimed to have downed about 90% of the hundreds of missiles fired by Iran. The Telegraph reports that at least 42 Iranian missiles caused damage in Israel. Over the 12-day conflict, Washington and Tel Aviv spent billions of dollars shooting down Iranian missiles. The U.S. and Israel used a significant portion of their supply of missile interceptors. Yeah, see, they're running out. And the U.S. is like, well, we don't have any. We gave them all to fucking Ukraine. Analysis by the Telegraph found that Iranian missiles were progressively more likely to evade Israeli air defenses as the war continued. Near the end of the conflict, Israel was forced to ration its interceptors, leaving some areas more vulnerable. That's why they called the ceasefire. That's because Israel was about to go down, and I don't know why Iran didn't just pull the trigger for real. Additionally, using a large number of interceptors will have an impact on other conflicts. The Pentagon reports a shortage of Patriot missiles, prompting the U.S. to halt shipments to Ukraine, among other reasons, I'm sure. And finally, folks, remember the Freedom Flotilla. It might be back. It may be coming back. Watch out. Watch your local news. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition, or the FFC, has said that it will attempt to break the Israeli siege of Gaza with another ship. Last month, the FFC vessel Madeleine was seized by Israeli forces before it could reach the starving people of the Strip. A statement on the organization's Twitter account announced that the next ship will set sail from Italy next week. We are setting sail again on July 13th, 2025. Our boat Handala will depart from Syracuse, Italy, to break Israel's illegal blockade. This mission is for the children of Gaza. It continued. Just weeks ago, Israeli forces illegally seized our boat Madeleine and abducted 12 unarmed civilians aboard her in international waters. That's the thing there. They did it in international waters where everybody's a criminal. No, it's like the Wild West out there. So we are setting sail again on July 13th. Our boat Handala will depart from Syracuse. Okay. So the name of the ship is Handala, or the boat's called Handala. In June, the FFC's Madeleine attempted to deliver baby formula to Gaza in spite of the siege, carrying 12 crew members, including Swedish activist Greta Thunberg. That ship was seized by Israel on June 9th, with some crew members detained for a week. Since the vessel was prevented from reaching Gaza, multiple newborns in the Strip have reportedly died from starvation. According to the UN's children's agency UNICEF, more than 5,100 Gazan children aged between 6 months and 5 years were treated for acute malnutrition in May alone, a 50% increase over the previous month. The FFC has dispatched multiple ships to Gaza since Israel turned the densely populated region into an open-air prison. Tel Aviv has used lethal force to prevent ships from delivering aid to the malnourished people in Gaza, while another FFC vessel, the Conscience, was bombed by an Israeli drone in international waters in May. The FFC's latest statement stressed that action is needed as the Palestinians are starving to death. Since March, more than 6,500 Palestinians have been killed, over 23,000 injured, and hundreds shot while waiting for food. The children of Gaza now face famine, disease, and trauma few of us can imagine. It added, "We are not governments. We are people taking action where institutions have failed. We are not backing down." We said over at least 750 Palestinians have been killed in just over a month as they attempted to reach aid distribution sites in Gaza. Tel Aviv is only allowing GHF to bring a limited amount of aid to the territory, but the agency's operations are insufficient and disorganized and probably criminal as fuck. Definitely criminal as fuck. Amnesty has labeled the GHF a tool of the Israeli genocide in Gaza. Well, yeah, I mean, if you got the IDF or Israel in the mix, come on. That's like having some evil person and then you put some mustache on him and say, "Look, this is a different person. See, he has a mustache and the other person, that evil person, didn't." I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you people? Lots going on. We'll get to the Jeffrey Epstein stuff shortly. We're not going to dwell on it too much. We do have a James Lee video about that, though, so it's pretty good. I just watched that yesterday. I think he just dropped it yesterday, so... but in the meantime, Kenya is protesting, and people are getting arrested and killed there, just for trying to be, just trying to be real.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, Kenya, at least 10 dead in ongoing protests, 29 injured nationwide. Police in Kenya clashed with demonstrators yesterday during anti-government protests as the authorities blocked major roads leading into the capital, Nairobi, and most businesses closed. According to government-funded national rights watchdog Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least 10 people died on Monday and another 29 were reported injured nationwide. A police statement published on Monday evening counted 11 fatalities and mentioned that numerous police officers have been injured, although it counted far fewer injured civilians than the rights watchdog. This is interesting. Protesters lit bonfires and hurled stones at police in roadblocks, and police fired and hurled tear gas canisters, injuring one demonstrator. AP journalists witnessed an injured person being carried by protesters who were chanting against police. Kenyans had planned demonstrations on July 7th, which was yesterday, to protest against police brutality, poor governance, and to demand President William Ruto's resignation over alleged corruption and the high cost of living. July 7th, known as Saba Saba, is a significant date in Kenya's recent history, marking the first major protest 35 years ago that called for a transition from a one-party state to a multi-party democracy, which was realized in the 1992 elections. Police officers were stopping private and public vehicles from accessing the city center. They were also blocking most pedestrians from entering the capital, only allowing through those deemed to have essential duties. Public Service Minister Jeffrey Ruku had urged all government employees to report to work on Monday, insisting that the demonstrations would not disrupt public services. Interior Minister Kipchumba Murkomen said on Sunday that the government would not tolerate violent protests and that police would be deployed to ensure public safety. The roads leading to the country's parliament and the president's office were barricaded using razor wire. Wouldn't you like to live in a place where you're president? What if the White House had razor wire in it? Remember when they had the fence around it? You remember that? You remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Meanwhile, migrants deported from the U.S. to Salvadorian prison remain under U.S. control. Remember they said, we didn't have any control. Once they go down there, poof, that's it. We can't get them back. And El Salvador is like, no, you can. Yeah, these are your control. You can get these people back anytime you want. Hence propaganda, folks. Okay, I guess we're still. All right. The government of El Salvador has acknowledged to the UN investigators that the Trump administration maintains control of the Venezuelan men who were deported from the U.S. to a notorious Salvadorian prison, contradicting public statements by officials in both countries. What, they both lied? What? That's cray-cray. The revelation was contained in court filings Monday by lawyers for more than 100 migrants who are seeking to challenge their deportations to El Salvador's mega prison, known as the known as the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CCOT. The case is among several challenging Trumpy's immigration crackdown in this. Who said this? Okay. In this context, the jurisdiction and legal responsibility for these persons lie exclusively with the competent foreign authorities. Oh, that's so cute. They think they're competent. Salvadorian officials wrote in response to queries from the unit of the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. The UN group has been looking into the fate of the men who were sent to El Salvador from the U.S. in mid-March, even after a U.S. judge had ordered the planes that were carrying them to be turned around. The Trump administration has argued that it is powerless to return the men, noting that they are beyond the reach of U.S. courts and no longer have access to due process rights or other U.S. constitutional guarantees. And El Salvador is like, no. But lawyers for the migrants said the UN report shows otherwise. El Salvador has confirmed what we and everyone else understood. It is the United States that controls what happens to the Venezuelans languishing at CCOT. It is the United States that controls what happens. Remarkably, the U.S. government didn't provide this information to us or the court, ACLU lawyer Lee Gellert said in an email. Sky Perryman, CEO and president of Democracy Forward, said the documents show that the administration has not been honest with the court or the American people. That's not the only thing that shows it. The ACLU and Democracy Forward are both representing the migrants. A Justice Department spokesperson declined to comment. White House and Homeland Security Department officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment. I wonder why. Wait. Why didn't you say something? What? But you guys said that you said El Salvador was in, but now it's. The administration in March agreed to pay $6 million for El Salvador to house 300 migrants. The deal sparked immediate controversy when Trump invoked an 18th century wartime law, the Alien Enemies Act. You had to have one of those fucking Republican nerds going through those fucking laws to get this fucking thing. To quickly remove men it has accused of being members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. In a related case, the administration mistakenly sent Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the same prison, despite a judge's order prohibiting the Maryland man from being sent to El Salvador. The administration initially resisted court orders to bring him back to the U.S., saying he was no longer in American custody. Eventually, Abrego Garcia was returned to the U.S., where he's now facing criminal charges of human smuggling while legal battles continue. Last month, a coalition of immigrant rights groups sued to invalidate the prison deal with El Salvador, arguing that the arrangement to move migrant detainees outside the reach of U.S. courts violates the Constitution. Where are my constitutional conservatives at? Why aren't they getting on these motherfuckers about this, huh? Where are my Second Amendment guys, right? The blood, was it? The Tree of Liberty needs watering? Is that what it is? Nah, Trump's cool, man. Trump's cool. All right. Whatever. You remember John Brennan? I guess he was under, was he? Yeah, I guess he was under Obama. His lizard head is popping back up as ex-CIA chief could face Russiagate perjury probe. Oh, no. What? I lied? Really? John Brennan allegedly denied under oath to his role in including the notorious Steele dossier in the 2016 report on Russian interference. Right, just with that James Clapper guy who lied about, oh, no, we're not collecting people's information. Yeah, they're straight up collecting people's. He lied to Congress, too. Nothing happened to him. Former CIA Director John Brennan could face a perjury probe over his role in the 2016 Russiagate conspiracy, which claimed Moscow worked to undermine Hillary Clinton's unsuccessful presidential campaign in favor of Donald Trump, according to U.S. media. Unless they were actually her advisors, I don't see how they affected that, her campaign. The current chief of the U.S. spy agency, John Ratcliffe, has claimed that senior security officials manipulated aspects of the investigation, which was commissioned by then-President Barack Obama back in 2016. I'm going to drink this water here in Flint, Michigan. Yeah, I'm going to drink it. Republican critics have long maintained that the final document was politically motivated and intended to damage Trump's first presidency. Moscow has denied interfering in the U.S. electoral process or colluding with Trump's campaign. Last month, Ratcliffe declassified an internal CIA review of the 2016 intelligence community assessment, which some media outlets claim proves that Brennan lied under oath during a closed-door congressional hearing in 2017. Allegations of this nature have circulated for years. I don't know if it was a ploy to screw Trump so much as to save face in the Democratic Party. Because she ran a horrible campaign. She was a horrible candidate, and she had horrible advisors. That's why she lost. That's why she lost to a fucking game show host. John Ratcliffe is a genius, a congressional source told Breitbart News in comments published on Sunday. He just got career CIA officers to admit the 2016 ICA was corrupted and to offer up Brennan on a silver platter. The DOJ could have a field day with this. A second source said lawmakers were stunned by the contents of the internal review, claiming Brennan knew the entire time that he was trying to wreck Trump's presidency before it even started. I doubt that. They all play on the same team. The declassified review, released June 26, includes testimony from an intelligence official who described Brennan's influence over the inclusion of references to the Steele dossier in the ICA. The dossier, a collection of unverified allegations linking Trump's campaign to Russia, was compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele and funded by Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's campaign. The intelligence official said Brennan showed a preference for narrative consistency over the analytical soundness. The spy chief reportedly wrote to skeptics, "My bottom line is that I believe that the information warrants inclusion in the report." In his 2017 testimony, Brennan reportedly claimed he had not advocated for the dossier to be mentioned in the ICA. Senior U.S. intelligence officials are rarely prosecuted for misleading the public, even when the available evidence appears compelling. Of course, as we told you, one notable example is James Clapper, former director of national intelligence, that's Tulsi's job now, who told Congress in 2013 that the National Security Agency was not wittingly collecting data on millions of American citizens. The fact that his nose was growing when he said that should have been a clue. Documents later leaked by Edward Snowden showed that the agency was doing precisely that. The former NSA contractors facing prosecution in the U.S. for exposing the mass surveillance program. And as of course, he's in asylum in Russia and has been there since. So yeah, he can lie. Jim Clapper, all those fuckers can lie to Congress. That's fine. Lie to Congress. They're not going to do jack shit. There ain't no justice, folks. It's just us. And that ain't just a slogan. That is for real. Here's some, the sky is blue, water wet news as ISIS-linked Palestinian group admits to coordinating with Israel. Oh, that's a shock. A Palestinian group opposed to Hamas and tied to ISIS have received support from Israel. Its leader now admits. Yasser Abu Shabab, head of the ISIS-linked Popular Forces, not to be confused with the 70s band Small Faces, discussed coordinating with Tel Aviv in an interview with Makan, Israel's Arabic language public radio broadcaster. "We keep them, Israel, informed, but we carry out the military actions on our own." Right. Abu Shabab did not directly state that the Popular Forces received direct support from Israel. He explained that his organization is supported by a number of parties, and there are things we can't talk about publicly because they're probably illegal as fuck. Last month, the ties between Abu Shabab and Tel Aviv were exposed by Israeli opposition leader and former defense minister Avigdor Lieberman. The Israeli government is giving weapons to a group of criminals and felons identified with the Islamic State at the direction of the Prime Minister, Lieberman said. "To my knowledge, this did not go through approval by the cabinet." I'm pretty sure it didn't. Bibi later confirmed Lieberman's accusation, saying the policy saves the lives of Israeli soldiers. Abu Shabab and his gang have been backed by Israel against Hamas. He said in the interview, adding that he was seeking to eradicate Hamas's injustice and corruption. How about the projection? "We will continue to fight no matter the bloodshed," Abu Shabab added. "Right now, Hamas is dying. They know their end is near." That guy's Baghdad Bob. An IDF officer explained to Haaretz, "There are many groups that oppose Hamas." Abu Shabab went several steps further. "They control territory that Hamas doesn't enter, and the IDF encourages that." The Popular Forces have admitted to looting aid entering Gaza, although they claim that they did not steal the food. "It just magically appeared in our hands," like, ha. The popular, they just Abu Shabab's fighters are also involved in securing aid distribution sites run by the U.S.-backed GHF. IDF officers say some of the Palestinian aid seekers who have been killed and wounded near aid sites were killed by the militant group. God, who isn't killing those people in Gaza? My God, come on, people. Oh, and those U.S. mercenaries that are over there, yeah, they're doing it too. New footage exposes ragtag U.S. mercenaries firing towards Gaza aid seekers. Look at this guy. Those are some ugly sunglasses. I do not like those. Following an AP investigation accusing a U.S. mercenary firm of firing on desperate Gaza aid seekers, the company has released extensive new footage in an attempt at damage control, but the video only further implicates the scandal-plagued operation. when you double down on stupid. On July 2nd, the AP released an expose containing short videos which appeared to show American mercenaries associated with the GHF opening fire on aid seekers in Gaza during an incident in southern Gaza this May. The footage was supplied by a former employee of UG Solutions, a firm charged with securing GHF distribution sites. I think you hit one soldier of fortune says to another, following a loud burst of gunfire. Hell yeah, boy, another exclaims. In an apparent attempt to control the damage from the AP investigation, the UG Solutions has distributed a pair of videos comprising over 7 minutes of footage to the press. The newly released footage offers an unprecedented glimpse of the disturbing interactions between the starving population of Gaza and well-armed, clearly unprepared Americans hired to provide security for GHF's chaotic aid operations. Filmed by one of its own employees, the recordings were seemingly distributed in an effort to show UG Solutions agents have not fired live bullets on unarmed crowds of Palestinians. According to a UG Solutions statement, the videos not only clarify what happened, but provide critical context which contradicts that AP's reporting and shows that the accusations are unfounded. However, a closer examination by the Gray Zone demonstrates that the video was anything but exculpatory. I don't know, this is... Okay, this is about 6 minutes long, so we should... Yeah. But this is... I think this is on... Yeah, this is on Gray Zone site. In one video, a ragtag group of mercenaries can be seen firing what they called warning shots toward a crowd of Palestinian civilians, whom they acknowledged to be non-threatening, before radioing the notoriously trigger-happy Israeli military for backup. Following a series of nearby gunshots, a UG Solutions mercenary can be heard radioing the IDF to inform them, "We are firing warning shots, that's from us," he says. Like all others heard in the video, he speaks in an American accent. Seconds before the gunshots ring out, a UG Solutions agent can be seen in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, aiming his rifle in the direction of a crowd of aid seekers. And this is him right there. And these are aid seekers. And this is this motherfucker with the gun. These crucial pieces of evidence undermine claims by a UG Solutions spokesman who told the AP he was unaware of video showing gunfire from someone believed to be a UG Solutions contractor. While eroding the mercenary firm's defense, the UG Solutions video also underscores the shambolic state of GHF's supposedly humanitarian operations. In the footage, the mercenary filming acknowledges that he and his fellow guns for hire are unable to exchange even basic Arabic phrases with the starving crowds. "I think I'm going to write down some Arabic words," he says, before rattling off a series of expressions that reflected his team's lack of training and utter inability to communicate. "Tomorrow, back, go home, stop." The mercenary tacitly acknowledges that in the absence of translation help, he and his team have been forced to rely on English-speaking Gazan aid seekers. There were a couple of Palestinians that, like you said, spoke decent English that were pretty helpful. I don't know why they don't use the apps on their phones, right? They have translation apps on there. You could easily do that. I think for the most part, they don't have any mal intent or bad intent because they're desperate, the American continues, noting the absence of genuine security threats. A nearby mercenary chimes in, "They're desperate as fuck." Later, the cameraman complains that refugees hauled off a light pole and a nearby tree, presumably for firewood, before grumbling that the desperate crowds took GHF's distribution tables from the site as well. The unsettling video seems to corroborate a high-ranking UG Solutions contractor's characterization of the firm's Gaza operations as amateur hour. How much more is this left? Okay, there's not much. Okay, so UG Solutions. UG Solutions splits armed operations in the besieged Gaza Strip with another U.S. private mercenary firm, Safe Reach Solutions, which was founded by former CIA operative Philip Riley. You knew the CIA had to be in there somewhere. Both operate under the auspices of the Trump-aligned Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. which received an initial investment from McNally Capital, a private equity firm founded by mapping heir Ward McNally. The Gray Zone has reported that GHF also appears to have received substantial funding from Israel's Mossad and Ministry of Defense. The U.S. Department of State has since pledged $30 million to keep the scandal-stained GHF operations afloat. As of July 6th, over 700 people had been killed. As we told you about that. Okay. Several Israeli soldiers have told Haaretz that they received orders to fire at aid seekers drawn to GHF distribution hubs, causing high numbers of deaths and injuries. Where I was stationed, between 1 and 5 people were killed every day, one soldier told the Israeli paper. They're treated like a hostile force. No crowd control measures, no tear gas, just live fire with everything imaginable, heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, mortars. Yeah. So, if you want to check that out, there's video on there too on the Gray Zone site. I highly encourage you to check that out to get more on the situation there from those guys. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Thank you. So, you know, Israel's big thing is the reason for the GHF is because, well, you know, these other aid agencies had Hamas all up in them, and Hamas was stealing aid and giving it to other people. Hey, what's up, Max? Good to see you, buddy. Happy Tuesday to you. Well, guess what? No reports of Hamas stealing aid in Gaza. That's according to the EU Commission. The West. The European Commission on Monday said it has no evidence that Hamas is stealing humanitarian aid in Gaza and described the humanitarian situation in the enclave as catastrophic. Speaking at the midday briefing, where was this? Okay. Oh, the EU. Okay. Speaking at the midday briefing, Commission spokesperson Eva Herntzerova, that threw me off with the HRN, responded to a question regarding allegations that the Palestinian group is diverting aid intended for civilians. We don't have any reports of Hamas stealing the aid, she said, stressing the EU's commitment to independent and neutral humanitarian principles. Obviously, we don't hide that the situation in Gaza is catastrophic and very, very complex, Herntzerova added. Nevertheless, we have a system that is in place. We have an infrastructure on how to deliver aid in Gaza, and this is a system that should immediately be used to help people in Gaza who are starving. Herntzerova underlined that the EU continues to rely on established international humanitarian organizations to deliver aid. We do not cooperate with Global Humanitarian Foundation because we think that humanitarian aid can never be privatized, politicized, or to become a tool of a conflict, she added. The commission continues to call on Israeli authorities to grant access to its aid partners in Gaza. The GHF is a highly controversial mechanism operating in the Gaza Strip since May 27th, where hundreds of aid-seeking Palestinians have been killed at or near its aid distribution sites by the Israeli army in just 2 months, according to UN officials. UNRWA and over 170 NGOs, including Oxfam, Amnesty, and Doctors Without Borders, signed a joint statement that calls for an end to the deadly Israeli distribution scheme, including the so-called GHF, and a return to UN-led coordination mechanisms. Israel has killed, and then there's the numbers again there. That's what we need to be telling our normie friends, right? Especially, I heard just yesterday, I was reading something on Facebook or something. Some guy was like, I can't believe they haven't taken out Hamas yet. And I'm like, oh my God, do you even know what the actual fuck is going on over there? Do you even know? No, we don't. That's why we have to tell these people. We have to tell our normie friends who aren't in this space, who aren't into independent media. We have to kind of slip it in there somehow and say, hey, look, you know, this shit's really going on and you're being fed a whole line of dog poopies. Okay, we got technically 3 more, but it's kind of 2. I kind of did a little combo there. So, I don't know. I do like that song, Insane in the Membrane by Disturbed. But what really disturbs me, besides being the king of Segway, is their frontman, David Draymond, who I believe he wasn't very good during the pandemic. Seemed to be very lockstep. And well, he's not good on Israel either. So Ozzy Osbourne's they're the Black Sabbath's final tour, right? And Disturbed frontman David Draymond booed at Ozzy Osbourne farewell over Israel support. There's this fuckhead right there, this fucking human thumb. Oh, wow. David Draymond, the frontman of heavy metal band Disturbed, faced a chorus of boos during a guest appearance of Black Sabbath's farewell concert in Birmingham, with the reaction widely linked to his outspoken support for Israel. Performing as part of a tribute set led by guitarist Tom Morello at Villa Park. Fuck you, I won't do it, you tell me. Unless it's the jab, then I'll do what you tell me. Draymond was jeered by sections of the crowd as he took the stage, with some audience members raising middle fingers. And it's not saying you're number one either. It follows uproar over the metal frontman's stance during the brutal war on Gaza, including signing an Israeli shell. Isn't that what's her name? Oh, fuck. She used to, Haley. What's her name? The former governor of South Carolina. She signed one of those bombs too. According to Far Out magazine, the singer responded with, "We gonna start this," before continuing with covers of Sabbath's Sweet Leaf and Shot in the Dark. After the show, Draymond addressed the reaction in a Twitter post. Yes, there were a few boos when I walked out, but I came to pay homage to my teachers, my idols, the mighty Black Sabbath, and I wasn't about to let a few Jew-hating morons deter that. It's all about feeding their narrative, generating clickbait, and inciting hatred of Jews. What a fucking moron. Draymond's attempt to frame the backlash as anti-Semitic has been challenged by many critics and observers at the concert, who said the hostility from the crowd had nothing to do with his Jewish identity, but with his political actions during the war. In December 2023, he was photographed signing Israeli artillery shells that were reportedly about to be fired into Gaza with the phrase, "Fuck Hamas." The image circulated widely online and was condemned by human rights advocates and fans alike, who viewed the act as an endorsement of Israel's military aggression that had already killed thousands of innocent Palestinians. It was also condemned by many in the metal scene, who viewed the act as going against the subculture's principles of standing against power and oppression. Exactly. Well, Draymond's a fucking sellout. Come on. Draymond has defended his actions and expressed unqualified support for the Israeli military throughout the conflict. His public messaging has consistently aligned with the position that Israel's military campaign is justified. They have a right to defend themselves, regardless of the huge death toll of innocent civilians in the Strip and the growing international criticism of Israel's action. The war in Gaza, now in its 21st month, has drawn increasing international scrutiny. The ICJ has ruled that there is a plausible case that Israel is committing genocide in the territory. Various UN agencies and human rights organizations have described the situation as catastrophic, citing starvation, mass displacement, and the deliberate targeting of civilian infrastructure. The incident in Birmingham follows controversy relating to solidarity with Gaza in the music world over the past few weeks. At Glastonbury Festival at the end of June, the British punk rap duo Bob Vylan, we told you about him the other day, led chants of "Death, death to the IDF," prompting police investigations and political backlash. The group said the chant was directed at the Israeli military as a political institution, but critics accused them, of course, of inciting violence. While heavy metal has historically remained removed from Middle East politics, the crowd's reaction to Draymond suggests that things may be a-changin', and I hope so, because Draymond is a fucking moron. Or he's a Zionist, or he's a cuck, or he's all three. What's up, Mystery? Hello to you, dear. I hope you're doing well today, my friend. Yeah. All right, well, we got one more. And I have to sneeze. Woo! I don't think I've ever sneezed on a thing before. I hope no boogies went anywhere. How's everybody doing? We all right? We all right? Orange whip, orange whip, orange whip, orange whip, orange whip. All right, let's get to it. I don't normally do the Epstein stuff. I usually leave that for the deep dive guys and gals because they know all the ins and outs of all this stuff. But we were told that there was a list that Epstein had a client list, and that now apparently there's no list. There's no list. Epstein had no client list. Died by suicide. U.S. Justice Department says. Died by suicide. Yep, he sure as fuck did. A U.S. government review has found no evidence that sex offender Jeffrey Epstein kept a secret client list and reaffirmed that he died by suicide in federal custody in 2019, undercutting years of conspiracy theories. You know what's funny? It was like, a few weeks ago, Elon Musk said, Trump's on that list. And then all of a sudden there's no list. And then, isn't that interesting? Totally coincidental. The acknowledgement that Epstein did not maintain a list of clients who received underage girls marks a clear retreat from a narrative once promoted by members of U.S. President Trump's administration. Earlier this year, Attorney General Pam Bondi even claimed in a Fox News interview that such a document was sitting on my desk awaiting her review. That could have been bullshit. I mean, they all lie. I'm trying, Mystery. I'm hoping you're well too, dear. Must have showed him your anal probes. Yeah. A memo released on Monday by the Department of Justice and the FBI stated that a systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. It also found no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent figures or grounds to pursue investigations under uncharted third parties. All right. With that being said, we have a little poll going on here. If you haven't taken our poll, I highly recommend it. We have a tie. Are the feds lying about Epstein? Yes and fuck yes are tied at 37%. No at 21%. They're stifling laughter when they say that. And only 5% of you said hell yes. I like my fuck yes people. John said, I didn't know there was a fuck yes option. Yeah. So, and more bullshit here. After a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in a cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City on August 10th, 2019. The memo said, this conclusion is consistent with previous findings, including the August 19th, 2019 autopsy findings of the New York City office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the November 29th position of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York in connection with the investigation of federal correctional officers responsible for guarding Epstein, and the June 2023 conclusions of DOJ's Office of the Inspector General. It concluded by saying that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted, or convenient. The Justice Department also released 10 hours of surveillance footage from the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York. The footage revealed that no one entered Epstein's cell on the day he died by suicide. Well, you couldn't see where, James Lee has a whole thing on this coming up. Conservatives who have sought proof of a government cover-up of Epstein's activities quickly expressed outrage at the announcement. Far-right influencer Jack Posobiec posted, "We were all told more was coming, that answers were out there and would be provided. Incredible how utterly mismanaged this Epstein mess has been, and it didn't have to be." Separately, former Trump ally billionaire Elon Musk, like we said, he had said that Trump was on the list, but he also shared an image of a scoreboard reading, "The official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter," which was set at 0. On June 5th, Musk claimed that Trump appeared in the Epstein files, as we told her, and later posted a video on Twitter showing Trump at a party with Epstein. These posts, now deleted, were part of an ongoing feud between these two fucking spoiled babies. There's the official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter, still at 0 at however many days that might be. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones wrote, next, the DOJ will say, actually, Jeffrey Epstein never even existed, calling the conclusion over the top sickening. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt defended the Justice Department's exhaustive investigation. When questioned about the client list mentioned in February's Fox News interview, Leavitt clarified that Bondi was actually referring to the broader collection of Epstein case files, not just the client list. Epstein was found dead in his jail cell in August 2019, weeks after his arrest on sex trafficking charges in a suicide that foreclosed the possibility of a trial. How convenient. The Justice Department and FBI's disclosure that Epstein took his own life is hardly a revelation, even though conspiracy theorists have continued to challenge that conclusion, or just theorists. In November 2019, for instance, then Attorney General William Barr told the AP news agency that he had reviewed security footage that revealed that no one entered the area where Epstein was housed on the night he died, and expressed confidence that Epstein's death was a suicide. However, Epstein's ties to the rich and famous have led many to believe, without evidence, that others were behind his death in an effort to cover up their own crimes. Oh my, there he is. Look at those. I would not want to hold a picture of that guy. I'm afraid it might melt my fingerprints off. As we said, James Lee to the rescue. And he has, this is kind of a little lengthy for my taste, but it's totally chock full and it goes by pretty quick. So this is, as we told you, there was 11 hours of Epstein's FBI tapes were released. And definitely something does not add up. Let's check in with James Lee and see what he has to say about the situation.
It's official. There is apparently nothing to see here, folks. According to the DOJ and the FBI, there is no client list, no foul play, case closed. And to prove it, the Trump administration released 11 hours of enhanced footage that was supposedly accidentally deleted years ago, purportedly showing that no one entered Epstein's prison unit the night he died. So let's go through that footage minute by minute to figure out what the FBI wants you to believe and what the footage actually shows. So first off, what exactly are we looking at here in this footage? There is a door on the right-hand side of the screen that says 46 on it. On the left-hand side of the screen, you could see a staircase that leads down to a lower level common space where you can see some inmates walking around in the background. And then there is an officer desk area in the far corner. It's kind of blurry, but you can see it. Here's the floor plan. The camera's positioned in the lower corner here. The highlighted orange is the immediate area of that footage where door 46 is located. The officer station is in that far corner, blurry in the video, but you could still make it out. And Epstein's cell is highlighted in the middle right of the map here. And most importantly, it is actually obstructed from view. That's right, you can't actually see it from this camera angle. Here's another diagram. Each of these cell blocks have 8 cells split into 2 levels, L and M, so 16 total each. You can see from the point of view of the officer's station that Epstein's cell is in the upper L level. But once again, I have to pull up the screenshot to show that that area that we were just looking at is almost completely obstructed from view. You can see maybe the little teeth that is in the staircase going up to the L level. So really anyone could have gone up and down that staircase without being seen by this camera. So the claim that this footage can conclusively prove anything is sort of laughable already, but let's keep going. Now, a very important thing to note here is that door 46 is the only way to go in and out of this cell block floor. You can see that in the diagram here. Now, before we go into more of the footage, the obvious question here is that we have the 11 hours of footage, but how do we know that something didn't happen before or after this footage was taken? That nobody seems to have an answer to, but let's just say whatever happened to Epstein happened within these hours. According to the joint memo released by the DOJ and the FBI over the weekend, they claimed that, quote, this footage confirmed that the time Epstein was locked in a cell at around 10:40 p.m. on August 9th, 2019, until around 6:30 a.m. the next morning, nobody entered any of the tiers in the SHU, which stands for Special Housing Unit. Well, the thing here is that at 12:05 a.m., you could see that in the timestamp, this big dude wearing a hoodie is seen entering this floor. He grabs the bags that are sitting there near the door, presumably linens or something, and then he tosses it out of door 46. He goes out briefly, and then he comes back in. He closes door 46 behind him and then walks down the staircase out of view. This in and out of door 46 happens actually a bunch of times throughout the night. I'm going to show you one more here. At 3:15 a.m., a female officer goes out of door 46 and then comes back in at 3:17. And just to remind people again, you cannot see the stairwell that goes up into Jeffrey Epstein's cell block. But what we do know for sure now is that there are people coming and going throughout the night in and out of this floor. Then there's this craziness where 1 full minute of footage is just missing. It goes from
11:58:58 to midnight, and it's just cut out.
11:58:58 to 12:01:01. And you can even see the video frame change.
Yeah.
Right there. 11:58:58, 12:01:01. And then something else that's kind of odd here in this moment is that some sort of editing software menu pops up in that upper right-hand corner. Also, I just want to add one fun little tidbit here that when I uploaded this clip or a clip of this video to TikTok, it was immediately flagged as AI generated. So I don't know, just putting that out there. Finally, this is near the end of the video, allegedly capturing the moment at around 6:30 a.m. when officers realized that Epstein had quote unquote killed himself. The footage is sort of blurry, but you can kind of make out that there's a lot of commotion and movement and discussion in the background there. I'm sure they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So yeah, I don't understand how the FBI or the DOJ could have concluded anything from this video other than maybe giving themselves away, right? There's certainly no proof one way or the other. But now at least we know for sure that the FBI and DOJ memo that was just put out is not accurate, and that there were at least 5 or 6 people coming and going throughout the night that could have made their way to Epstein's cell, which once again, not in view of this camera. So will we ever get to the bottom of this? I don't know, probably unlikely, but we'll see. My name is James Lee. This is the 5149 show. I want to know what you think happened and also what your thoughts are about the Trump administration's handling of this. I do want to give a shout out also to the Crime Corner who compiled all of this footage. I'll link their channel in the description below. If you want to support my work, please take a second to like this video, share it, subscribe so us, the little guys, can keep the pressure on the elites who would love nothing more than for us to forget about all of this.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have
this
a
yard
right
gnome.
to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one.
Look
and
at this
that's what that
zombie.
was.
He killed himself.
He killed himself.
Again, you want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
You want me to show you the whole goddamn file? He killed himself. Good job, James Lee. I like that young man. He's doing good things. He's moving up in the world. Unless we like to see that. So that's what we need more of. We need more of investigative journalism type stuff like that. Breaking it down and saying, hey, wait a minute, questioning everything. And you should be questioning everything at this point. If you take shit at face value at this point, yeah, he is. He's straight up alive. So, he's probably back on his island. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, finally, folks, before we go, just want to give a shout out to our boy Kevin over at Black Bear News. His show is going to be on later today, probably in about an hour and a half, I think. Be sure you're helping support him. He lost his home during the LA fires, so if you could share out the links for his fundraiser there, I'd appreciate that. If you could donate, that helps too. We love Kevin. He's a good guy, and he's always providing good quality information on his show, Black Bear News, which is usually on around 2 p.m. Central Time. That would be 3 p.m. Eastern, probably, noon on the West Coast. Sewer sliding tendencies. I caught that reference. So finally today, folks, this was the 4th of July weekend, and that means Coney Island, that means hot dogs and eating a whole bunch for the sake of gluttony and maybe some prize money as the legend returns. Joey Chestnut wins the 2025 Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest in triumphant return. There's some nice ladies there smiling. I'm sure they're smiling about something else. If you had any doubt about who won the 2025 Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest in NYC, put it aside. Joey Chestnut took back his title after missing last year's competition. Chestnut quickly pulled ahead of the pack and finished with 70.5 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. That's about 7 a minute. Defending champion Patrick Bertoletti came in second with 46.5, Jesus, followed by James Webb, not the guy with the telescope, with 45.5. The crowd of spectators cheered Joey, Joey, Joey. As Chestnut walked across onto the stage Friday in Coney Island, Brooklyn. There's him eating his face like a fucking moron. The 41-year-old from Westfield, Indiana, fell short of the official world record, which he set in 2021 with 76 hot dogs and buns. I was excited. I love being here, man. I wish I ate a couple more. I'm sorry, guys, but I'll be back next year, he said after the competition. Chestnut set an unofficial world record with 83 hot dogs and buns during an unrelated competition last year, but that wasn't sanctioned by Major League Eating. Yes, that's the thing, folks. Major League Eating. Yeah, they wouldn't let him compete last year because he was sponsoring a veggie dog brand. That's right. But you know, it ain't the hot dog eating contest without the Chestnut. On the women's side, reigning champion Miki Sudo earned her 11th win Friday, eating 33 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. So yeah, Chestnut was the reigning 16-time champion before he was banned last year because of a partnership with Impossible Foods, a rival company that makes plant-based hot dogs. Yikes. With the men's field wide open in 2024, Bertoletti earned his first victory with 58 hot dogs and buns. Part of me wishes Bertoletti was a jerk. It would motivate me harder, but I love him, Chestnut said during Thursday's weigh-in. They have a weigh-in? But I want to win. I want to push for a record, so I kind of feel bad for him because I'm going to drop the hammer, and he's going to get annihilated. It was Bertoletti apparently put ketchup on the hot dogs for Chestnut, but he was still not deterred. It felt great last year. I never thought I'd ever win Nathan's the contest, but it didn't feel complete without Joey there, so he's back this year, and it's better. So there's the women's champ right there. Okay, never mind. Sudo of Tampa, Florida, has dominated the women's side for more than a decade and set the world record with 51 hot dogs and buns in 2024. On Friday, she finished with 18 behind her record. The hot dogs were great. The weather's beautiful. The crowd had me going. I'm thinking maybe the buns were more filling than usual. She said, it's okay. A win's a win. Thank you for the support. And then this goes on to tell you about the rules and stuff like that. And there's cash prizes. Anyway, all you need to know, Joey Chestnut back in the house. Reigning glutton champion of Coney Island for another 4th of July weekend. I hope your 4th of July weekend was fun and uneventful when it comes to bad things. I hope you had a good time. But now it's time to get back to the more serious stuff as we try to fight off the fuckery that constantly surrounds us here in this space. And I appreciate you guys for supporting the show, you know, coming in and watching this later, whatever you're doing. You know, if you want to support the show, you can. I got links down below. If you want to donate, we can do Patreon. You can do $1 a month. You put your name in lights at the beginning of the show. And, otherwise, if you want to share out the links, that helps me as well. The like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. I'm not really trying to grow this into a huge channel or anything. If I can get, I'm kind of like on the route like Willie Bragg is. If we can get that, or maybe Marcus over there at Political Matrix, we get to 1,000, I'll be like, all right, that's fine. But I'm not like, yeah, let's get to 1,000. Come on, mush. I don't really care about that, but 1,000's a nice one, and then we're good. So, soggy hot dogs. Is better than Nathan's if you're going the bottom. What about S-Bar? Come on, S-Bar is some cheap ass hot dogs too. Everybody knows S-Bar. All right, well, that's it for me. So we'll be back again on Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Be sure to check out all our peeps over here. Make sure you're following them and watching their stuff and sharing it out and stuff. The little guys in our space that need your help and your love and affection as well. So thank you, everybody. I love each and every one of you. I appreciate you. And I will see you again on Friday. Maybe sooner, maybe not. We'll see. I'm kind of mysterious like that. But in any event, we'll definitely be back on Friday. Unless the rocks fall from the sky. Please, please, rocks, come on.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
Woo!
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss, my wine. Baby, my heart's on fire.